Hey, welcome to David's Life and Observation with your host, David Welch. Now, I've been putting off doing a video about this until I did, a little bit more digging. And then another part of my video is about dudes, mainly law enforcement, and just assholes in general who can't keep their hands off people. The coronavirus is kind of a funny meme right now, but it's also kind of serious. So it's not a global pandemic yet, but has that possibility. There are cases that are documented here, but they're in quarantine and as under control as possible as you can be. China's doing better at containing, as far as I've learned. Poor cat on the road. I have to get to work though. But yeah, so when it comes to the coronavirus, I mean, it is serious. People shouldn't play at it. Stay healthy. And if you do get sick, for fuck's sake, and if it's your kid, take him to the doctor. Go to the doctor. Don't be that asshole that's like, oh, I'm going to tough it out at work. Because you're that asshole that fucking causes the rest of the whole floor, wherever you work, or all your co-workers to get sick. Don't do it. Or if you're the parent sending your sick-ass kid to school because they don't have a fever currently, that's not acceptable either. I don't endorse anybody being sick anywhere. When you are sick, for fuck's sake, do your due diligence and clean your fucking house. And not just clean your house, dust your house. And go as far as like washing all the linen, even though, hey, I haven't used this in a while. Wash it. Wash your clothes consistently. Use the wipes. Wipe down the surfaces. Spray Lysol. Lysol kills 99.9% of germs. In reality, and then change your fucking toothbrushes. I mean, that's one thing that people forget that is causing a lot of the sickness. Is you're supposed to rotate your toothbrush every 3 months anyway, but I rotate it every month and a half. Have to. Like with my kids, I can't stand if they're using an old toothbrush. If it's been in there longer than a month, I kind of get batshit. I don't really endorse it, and that's how you keep your kids healthy. That's how you keep everybody healthy. And when I was growing up, that wasn't a thing to really be cognizant of, even though they were saying it back then too. It's like a lot of people just were in that habit of using the same toothbrush for a long time. In fact, I remember distinctly as a kid that we did have the same toothbrushes for quite a while because our parents didn't see the need of changing them all the time. But we have learned that that's not good. Good oral health leads to good health in general. Now, you're looking at my fucked up teeth being like, listen, guy, why are you even talking on this issue? Your teeth are fucked up. Well, my teeth are fucked up because I've never worn braces, never gotten them straightened. And, I have a horrible habit of not brushing at night, which I'm curbing. I've been working on it. But that, going back to the coronavirus, it's, some good housekeeping. Just be safe rather than sorry. Your kid gets sick, don't go online like this one lady did and get advice from complete fucking strangers whose kids aren't sick, who isn't sick themselves. Go to the fucking doctor. I know, copays are a bitch. But sometimes you just got to take that bill on the chin and keep fucking moving, because we live in a country where people are really afraid of going to the doctors over money, and it shouldn't be. If there's one thing I do agree with Bernie Sanders on, which isn't many things, It's Medicare for all, and having the ability to be fearless when you go to the goddamn doctor. For a simple thing like, hey, I need to check to see if my kid has this fucking coronavirus, or if they're sick in a different fashion. We got to figure it out. You shouldn't be afraid to go to the doctors. You shouldn't be fearful of, getting the medical attention that you need. Absolutely. Now, when it comes to other things, let me circle around to this, because this is another issue that I want to talk about. Dudes that can't keep their hands off their family members, or their significant other, or a myriad of other things, or other people in general, because you want to be the tough guy. Well, let me fill you in on something. Regardless of how tough you think you are, there is always somebody out there bigger, badder, and stronger than you. I mean, it's an ego thing, but one day you may stare down a giant who's 6'6" or 6'9", 3 bills, and has no problems running a 440 or a 4840, which is pretty fucking fast for somebody that size, and they have a willingness to dismember you. I am not that guy. I'm all of 6 foot, 270 pounds currently, losing weight, and but I do have a willingness to fuck you up if I catch you slipping. And here's what I mean. There are people out there who stay in abusive relationships out of fear. And then we have situations where, like this case recently, where a judge ruled that a woman who killed her abuser could have reasonably left. No, the fuck she couldn't have. When you have a man or anybody threatening your life constantly, or the life of your children, you should absolutely be able to put that motherfucker down. Because that person has gone so far as is making threats to your life and livelihood. And not just livelihood, the life of your children, your offspring. So if you have a callous person who's willing to make those threats, willing to beat you, put hands on you, blacken your eye, and beat you stupid, and then go to the doctors and act like nothing is wrong, then you're in an abusive relationship with a psycho. Somebody who needs to be either given a reality check to their not so big manliness, or killed. And I'm not going to sugarcoat this. If you have somebody who beats a woman, and they consistently do it, and they lie about it, and then they beat their kids too, those assholes get to a point where they're not afraid of doing it to other people, much less their own family. Then they need to be handled. We live in a country where far too often women die and children die, or people die in general from these abusers, because nobody takes the time out of their day to either show up and whoop their ass savagely enough to ensure that they don't ever harm anyone ever again, or they're so fearful of being prosecuted for killing their abuser because someone told them someone thinks they have the reasonability to, or the ability to escape. Well, with social media and like pure psychopaths out there who are, in these relationships with people who are being beaten and taken advantage of, and we see it all the time, lovers and exes and stuff show up and murder the fuck out of, people unsuspectingly or randomly. It's not random, it's coordinated. They can't stand it. They can't stand being betrayed. They can't stand being left. It's an ego thing. And we see this all the time. We see this in law enforcement a lot. Law enforcement is one of those professions, and it's not just law enforcement, to be fair. It's a lot of professions but it is high tense. It is, it is a profession where your adrenaline gets, addressed all the time, which, causes a lot of problems later on down the road. But at the same time, it doesn't give them carte blanche to beat their wife and kids either. And we see domestic abuse a lot in roles like law enforcement because they've grown accustomed to the belief that they are unarrestable, untouchable, and overall above the law. So law enforcement likes to throw around the term sovereign citizen to anyone that advocates for their rights and advocates for freedom of any sort. But the real sovereign citizens are the ones who believe they are, in fact, above the law, and law enforcement falls into this category. They themselves, who investigate themselves, always find that they've done nothing wrong, even though evidence clearly shows that they do shit wrong all the time. Like, they can literally murder someone on camera or beat someone on camera, and then they will flat out lie to your face like, yeah, we did nothing wrong. Like, No, in fact, you did do something wrong. You either used excessive force, or you murdered someone who was in no way, shape, or form a fucking threat to you. Like this fucking cop in Nampa, Idaho, or Nampa. I don't know if it's Nampa, Idaho. There's a lot of Nampas. But up in Nampa, decided to not call the residents, decided to get a call and take a call for dogs barking, which I didn't know was a fucking crime because dogs happen to bark all the time. But took a call of dogs barking, goes up to the door, like thousands of Amazon Prime, delivery people of all sorts, pizza people, mail people, all the time, which they do constantly unarmed. But this guy goes up to the door, knocks on the door, and the family answers to address the issue of the dogs. The dog happens to slip out because dogs are wiggly and wiry, and they happen to do that. Mind you, this 180-pound dude with a myriad of tools goes for his gun immediately in a residential area and fires shots at this dog who, slipped out, happened to be, defending the home as they should, and he has to discharge his weapon. And then the family's forced to go chase down that dog to get it medical attention because some asshole with a gun decided to come to their residence on their property to tell them how to handle their dogs. I'm sorry, but the neighbor who called should get fucked up, honestly. If you have dogs barking in the middle of the day, so fucking what? I'm sorry, the noise ordinance is in effect in the evening, bitch. And that's for a reason, because during the day, people are allowed to be noisy. We're allowed to work in our home. We're allowed to do a myriad of fucking things. We're allowed to boom our music and clean and do whatever the fuck we need to do. But more to the point, like, if you're going to call like an armed person on someone, that armed person should have the fucking reasonability to get the attention of the folks and maybe, you know what? Back the fuck off. Like, hey, as soon as they open the door and you can hear them through the glass frame, just say, hey, when you get an opportunity, can you meet me out in the driveway without the dogs so we can talk about your dogs? How fucking hard is that? How hard is it to say, hey, I can hear you just fine through the glass door, which you can. Let's go ahead and have this conversation in this manner. Or, if you want to pick a better venue, can you meet me outside in about 10 minutes? That way you can gather your, get dressed, do whatever you need to do, and then, or put the dogs in the back. Maybe we can have a dialogue here at the door, but you need to address the dogs. Okay, great. That gives people time to handle their animals. Now, if a dog slips out, and you're a 180-pound man with tasers, baton, and fucking pepper spray, all those non-lethals will do the trick. Dogs do not love getting whooped with any sort of stick. Don't. They will get pissed off. They'll only take so many blows before they fucking bolt out of there. Especially if they're hard blows by a 180-pound man. Also, tasers are extremely fucking effective on animals. Just like humans. Very effective. Pepper spray. Dogs hate it just as much as humans hate it. Very fucking effective on an animal that's not even 100 pounds. I'm sorry, but the dog in the video, I guarantee, barely weighs 80, 90 pounds. Still a good-sized dog, but not a fucking mastiff, not a fucking giant coming at you. Can dogs do damage? Bro, you're kitted up like you wouldn't believe, and you have the audacity to pull out your firearm in a residential area and fire blindly. If you say those are coordinated shots, you are fucking woefully misunderstood on how to engage, anything. In a residential area where those bullets could have gone astray and fucking killed a kid. But I digress. Anyways, I just don't understand that dynamic where pizza delivery people and delivery people of all sorts can go to doors all day and you won't hear shit about a dog attack. You won't hear shit about people who do delivery firing their own weapons at animals that are on somebody else's property and they're in proximity to people's animals. Hey, if you have a vicious fucking dog too. Now this is to the officer's credit. Sort of. People have dogs that are just undisciplined. Or they are disciplined, but those dogs, and we know those dogs, some of them just don't give a fuck. There are dogs that have been disciplined for nipping at people and yada 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 yada, and then they fucking still do it because they don't care. They're just medulla oblongata is just big. Quick answer for those type of dogs. And this isn't always easy for people. Granted, money is an issue, but get them boarded. Get those dogs trained. And then spend your fucking time, and this is where people go wrong, and this is where people get me fucked up. If you are not willing to spend the time to train your dog properly, to spend the time with the dog, and teach them that humans, especially small humans, in your household or near your house are a non-threat until they are, then you don't need to have animals. I'm sorry, you can't handle your animals. Or if you have too many fucking animals in your residence you can't keep track of, that may be another problem. That happens all the time. Now, some people are perfectly fine, and the dogs and the other animals in the house get along just fine sometimes, even if there's a high quantity. But sometimes you have that one asshole dog, and it's usually a dog that's usually 1-2 years old, had a really liberal upbringing when he comes up to, discipline and, how to manage life. Usually those are the ones that are the assholes. But it's not too late for them. Get them boarded. Take them and spend time with the dog. Play with them. Run them out. The whole reason they act like jackasses sometimes is because they have built up energy over the day. If you're not that guy who constantly walks their dog or takes them to a dog park to get that energy out so they're wiped out at the end of the day, then you don't need to have dogs, quite frankly. Now, if you say, hey, I got a yard, my dogs can run in the yard, yada, 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 yada. Well, then put the dogs in the fucking yard and let them run it out until they're tired. It's okay. They can be outside. Now, in Arizona, during the middle of the summer, no. Different story. But you can do an hour or two at the dog park. You'll sweat your ass off too, but hey, we all need to lose a little weight sometimes. But to the officer, come on, guy. The reason Nampa, Idaho, or Nampa Police Department is getting so much fucking flack is because it's stupid to go to someone's property, to go to their house, and tell them how to fucking live and tell them how to manage your dogs in the middle of the fucking day. I'm sorry, but if their dogs aren't harming anyone and they're just barking, then tell the motherfucking neighbor to get earplugs. Or tell the neighbor to say, you know what, mind your fucking business until 10 p.m. And then after that, yeah, then give us a call. You know, like, dear Jesus. Or call the motherfucking resident if you can. If you can get their number, call them. Hit them up on social media like, hey, man, you know, hey, I'm Officer so-and-so. You know, we got a complaint that your dogs are, you know, out of control. They're barking. They're causing a ruckus. You know, is there any way we can meet over the phone, or is there any way we can meet in person? That way we can talk about it. That's how you engage the community. Instead of going up to the door like Billy Badass and fucking, you know, tell them that they have to meet you outside because, you know, because you can't hear them through the fucking glass door. And it's a fallacy. It's just a mechanism for them to come out, you know, so you can get their ID, run their ID for wants and warrants, and stir up more shit than you're fucking worth. And then you have the audacity to shoot a dog in a residential area instead of whooping that dog's ass. I'm sorry, but if you're kitted up the way, you know, I believe you are in this video, you have a vest on and you have a full fucking, you know, long shirt and long pants and boots, kick the fuck out of that dog. I'm sorry, if you can't fight a dog, you can't fight a human, man. You need to turn in the badge and gun and find different employment. But there's also people out there, and mind you, there are some serious people out there that believe dogs, animals, are an extension of their family. So go on and fuck with the wrong person whose dog you shoot, who's their emotional support animal, or who's a family member that's been in the family longer than you've been in their life. Then you're going to be in some serious fucking trouble, because that person might lose a fucking screw or a gear and come after you. And it's not acceptable. It is not fucking acceptable for law enforcement officers to believe that just because they say so, people have to do. You've got people fucked up in this country because more and more, and you see it more and more, that cops are not given any edge. They're not given any more advantages. You know, I mean, they already have all the advantages of a district attorney and judges who are in their back pocket, who, you know, always convict or find a way to convict someone even though they've done literally fucking nothing. So when it comes to managing your fucking animals and fucking, you know, being a good human being, yeah, please try and be a good human being first before the cops get fucking called. But if you're the fucking neighbor, and we see this all the time, neighbors will call over a non-issue, over something very benign, and cops kill that motherfucker, or they kill somebody in that household. Like, if you would have never called, like, good example, the guy who called on the woman in Texas, I think it was Dallas, Fort Worth, woman in Texas, in her own home, doors are open, it's a cool night, you know, you got your nephew there, you're playing video games, and you suddenly see a flashlight coming through your fucking window, think it's a burglar because you don't hear the fucking creepy ass cop munching in your fucking grass in the backyard. And then that fucking cop fires blindly, doesn't know the actual target, doesn't know who's in the room. Mind you, a child could have been shot and killed. And suddenly, you think that's okay. Like, oh, we investigated ourselves. We found that we did nothing wrong. And that's we didn't violate our own policy. Well, bitch, maybe you need new policies. But time and again, law enforcement officers are not affected by the same rules as you and me, and they are sovereign citizens. If you believe that you have a different construct of rules and you're exempt from 90% of the laws that everybody else is affected by, then you may be a sovereign citizen. All right, let's go ahead and recap of, you know, kind of what we talked about. First thing we talked about is the coronavirus. It's a serious fucking thing. Make sure that you go to the doctor when needed, stay the fuck home when needed, and, help take care of you and your family. Don't listen to dumbasses on social media who don't have the same problems or who are not fucking medical doctors. Now, there is such a thing called medical kidnapping, and I'll get into that in another video, but do your due diligence and take care of you and your family. Yes. Will it come out of an expense? Yeah. Will you possibly have to take a day off of work? Yes. Will you possibly have to get your kid out of school? Yes. Or will you possibly have to, deal with a myriad of other fucking things that come with it? Absolutely. But it's what we have to do. I'm sorry, but, being sick at work, being sick at school, being sick anywhere is not good, and it fucks people up. Does it, strengthen our immune systems a little bit? Possibly. But, if we do our own method of getting ourselves sick, like doing mud races and engaging in outdoor activities or engaging in the public without being clean, like carrying wipes and hand sanitizer and shit with you, then you are at the mercy of the germs. At the same time, let's go over abuse. Let's go over the assholes in the community who want to put hands on people. I don't have any sympathy for any asshole who does that, who abuses people or who is a controller, who can't keep their hands off people, and you get fucking shot. No sympathy. To the family of known assholes that do this, no sympathy either. It is a known issue with most fucking people. If you are a father and your son puts hands on women, beat the fuck out of him. Beat him so bad that if he ever put a hand on anyone else again, it better be in self-defense of somebody else. Because at that point, you're not raising a man, you're raising a fucking child who can't keep their hands to themselves. So one of those early things we learn as a human being is to keep our hands to our fucking selves unless it's in defense of yourself and others. Another thing when it comes to abusers, the courts. This is targeted at judges, law enforcement, and prosecutors. Stop criminalizing people who defend themselves from abuse. And a reason I understand the pattern here, because you guys defend each other all the time from your abuse. So you're used to defending abusers. But when it's a cop, I don't care if it's a cop, a judge, or a governor, or whoever the fuck they think they are, if they put hands on people, they should go to jail. And here's to the cops out there that don't fucking put people in jail for putting hands on people. A misdemeanor assault is absolutely a reason to put someone in jail. It is. If people want to put hands on another person, if it's a simple battery, then, if you can settle it right there and there's apologies and stuff like that, sometimes that works out. But if that person is a dick and they're unwilling to apologize for said action, or they don't realize the depth of their activity to the point where, they're fucking grabbing their chest and heaving, then yeah, they should go to jail. Like, as soon as you slap the handcuffs on someone who puts hands on another person needlessly or without defending another person or themselves, then they should fucking go to jail. We saw this in a case recently where these workers at GSW, I think is the name of the company, put hands on people practicing their First Amendment right. I'm sorry, but if you're on a public sidewalk, you can fucking film. Any person who works in security or just doesn't want to be on film, cry me a fucking river and get the fuck out of people's business. You don't want to be on film, don't say shit, just drive by. Just go. Just leave. People used to want to be on film back in the day. Man, like, damn, man, I was on the news. That's fucking awesome. Or, hey, mom. That doesn't happen in this country. It's all, you don't have my permission. Nobody needs your permission in public. Nobody, not one person. Don't need your permission. So fuck off to the people who think they need that permission. Now, here's another aspect to that. If you work in a public capacity, you have no reasonable expectation of privacy either, motherfucker. So, clerks, security, anybody who works in a public building, where the public can freely go and access, and you think you have privacy unless it's behind a locked fucking door. No. You can be filmed. You can be engaged because you're in your public capacity as a public official, and you have no reasonable expectation of privacy in a public place. Sorry, get another job if you can't handle it. And stop calling armed goons to handle people using their First Amendment. That's why you get companies, cities, and people sued. It's becoming more prevalent, and a lot of people are starting to do it. Back to the abusers. Again, you put hands on people, you should either get beaten to the point where you won't ever think of putting hands on anyone ever again, or you should get shot. You should get shot and fucking killed. You want to put hands on people and show a pattern of abuse for a long period of time and, fucking terrorize your family and others? Sorry. But I have no sympathy for people who get shot in that manner. The Nampa, Idaho cop, sorry, man. You should absolutely lose your job. At the least. At the very least, you should lose your job and never be a police officer ever again. Your post certification, strip. The narrative and the press release that the police put out on your behalf was so full of holes, and then when you release the body cam footage and it doesn't align with your narrative, perjury. Perjury, perjury, perjury. And I'm sick and tired of law enforcement officers and the law enforcement community never, ever getting slapped with perjury. Never. They don't. It's insane to me that happens, but they don't. But I digress. Anyways, thank you for tuning into David's Life and Observation today. I hope everyone has a great day today. I'm at work. I gotta go work and do work stuff. If you do watch this video, I really want you to keep in mind that a lot of what I say is my opinion. I am not advocating for a group. I am not right-wing. I am not left-wing. I am literally me. I'm not endorsing a particular ideology. I don't back a particular candidate. I'm not a Trump tard. I'm not a libtard. I'm not, when you throw titles and assume people are one thing, but you would probably agree with that person about 90% of the issues. And I'll tell you something. If you do not agree with me on issues when it comes to the Constitution and how that works within our society, you're probably a fascist. You're probably okay with goose-stepping Nazis checking your